quite a motley crew. They were not properly trained. Certainly, as we shall see, or as transpired, were no match for the new model army. Now what we're seeing on the left there is a cavalry skirmish. Now the new model army introduced blue sashes, until then had been primarily orange in honour of the Dutch, whereas the Royalists have red sashes. Now you may wonder, they both look pretty fancy, and this is one myth that I always attempt against swords, but is of little use against musket or even pistol balls at close range. In the way of ammunition or powder. And if they run out of powder, they're going to have to pull. And you'll see them in bodies. Any idea that you can fire accurately with a smoothbore musket, please just ignore that completely. They were hardly accurate to 50 yards, and beyond that, you fire en masse, so that you have something in the nature of a giant shotgun. And even statistically, the proportion of the number of balls actually fired to causing casualties was, so one rank fires at a time, and then the front rank withdraws and pulls behind the others. So you've got a continuous rolling fire. Now the Parliamentarian musket are now being supported by their pike, but even so, they are quite heavily outnumbered. But bear in mind, this is just their advance guard. Okay, as you may now notice, we have artillery. Now which fires a ball of 6 pounds. And the actual minion itself, 3/4 of a ton. Interestingly, in Napoleonic times, in the centre there, the pike are threatening, and if they're en masse, Pikes now advancing. They will, well, literally, they're facing their pikes towards the enemy. And this then develops into something. Drums were used to communicate across the battlefield. You may notice, obviously on this scale there's not an awful lot, but with musket and cannon you get an awful lot of smoke. So it was very difficult to actually tell where your own company might be. So, combination of drum calls, flags. You don't call them flags, you call them colours. So each regiment has its own colour. So in any confusion, that is where you rally. You rally on your colour. And this was held by an officer called an ensign. So he was of considerable importance. Were drummers. In later wars, drummers were merely boys. At this period, they were also officers, because their commands were essential.
Face the enemy, weapons!
Now the pike body on the left there is forming what is called a tilt on. In other words, when attacked by cavalry, the pike makes sure, in a sort of hedgehog formation, that the cavalry can't get at them, and they also then sheltered the musketeers. One question, what on earth was the Civil War about? It's a very long and complicated answer to that, but very briefly, was it King or was it Parliament who was in final charge? That was one issue. Charles did explicitly believe in the divine right of kings, and Parliament disputed that. That was one issue. Another issue was taxation, specifically a tax called ship money, which Charles levied in the 1630s without Parliament sitting at all. But above all, religion. You may hear the cry, no popery. Catholic Spain has been a deadly enemy. But even 50 years after the Armada, that was still a serious issue. So seem to be favouring Catholicism was effectively a treachery on the part of the king. Now in front of you there, over to the left, you will see push a pike. And sooner or later, one body or other is going to collapse. With reference to musket fire, you read there's quite a few below the musket. It's not actually the case. It can be done in about 30 seconds. Now if you're close enough, you will see that the musketeer has to prime his pan, in other words, put powder in his pan, then put a cartridge load down to flintlock musket. So you may see each musketeer carrying a length of what looks like rope. This is often bed cord soaked in saltpeter, and it is known as slow match. Or sometimes you put too much and it's probably qualified as quick match. You've got a burning lump of rope always in the vicinity. You see how close the musket gets. So it was quite easy to have an accident with the light match, and you find yourself being blown up. These did have early flintlocks for the simple reason that having lighted around the artillery, the amount of powder they'd be holding could be potentially fatal. Okay, the Royalist artillery is now in position. Two larger guns there and waving his flag about, flourishing his colour. It's a sort of come and get it in your heart, just in your heart. Right, that body of musketeers fired in what is known as a salve. In other words, you might think of it as a volley. Everybody's firing together. In the 13th War, under Gustavus Adolphus, that was actually quite a devastating weapon. It's more firing at will. Soldiers on both sides in the red coat. In 1648, You already had the new model army, which had been established in 1645. What's the sort of red that you see? Example, in Zulu, you see Victorian times, it was more of a russet time at the touch hole. You then use a wet sponge, dry up the wet sponge. You then repeat the process. Powder in the priming powder in the touch hole, scouring stick, wet sponge, dry sponge. And stop. A fold with a serpentine to hold the lid smash. They can hear the drums summoning people to reform. In the distance there, Parliamentarian outfit reforming. The white coats became quite famous in 1644. Newcastle's white coats, also known as Newcastle's lambs. It was at the Battle of Maidstone. They were the last Royalist regiment still intact on the field. They were summoned to surrender, refused, and died to a man.
Like, could you fight it?
Have a care!
Seems to be something of a pause in the fighting. Neither side is willing to push forward at this point. Right, Parliamentarian. This left flank is protected by that building. Yes. The first Parliamentarian army is beginning to run short of powder. Won't be able to hold out much longer. Surely the sheer force of numbers is going to force them to push back. Royalists pushing on that right hand flank. Again, pushing towards that building. He's firing. No. Here we go again. That's precisely what happened. Thomas Fairfax intending to besiege Maidstone, but because the battle actually started outside, as they pushed the Royalists back, it developed into straightforward storming of the town. So Maidstone got to Colchester, where the final battle of the Second Civil War took place. Because they'd already given their parole to Parliament, the two commanders of the Royalists in Colchester, once they surrendered, were both executed. The fact there was a Second Civil War is the fact that Charles was not treason. If they hadn't, they would have been liable to execution for treason themselves.